Hey folks, so today I've got an air match for you using the hidden gem, I think of it as that anyway, Focke-Wulf 190-A5, no, A8, ignore me. So we're right into the action here. I've skipped all of the pre-game shit that I normally keep in. We're on the Berlin map. I've climbed to altitude because this thing actually gets an interceptor spawn. One of the reasons it's a bit of a hidden gem. It sits at 5.0 BR. Generally, the most games you'll see will be topping at 5.3. So that's things like the P47M, most of the time you're fighting a lot of P51D30s. It's the mid tiers, so you're always going to get 3 or 4 bombers. This thing gets 4 20mm cannons and 2 7 point something or other, probably 9.2mm MGs. The thing that differs with this 190 and the others, apart from it getting an interceptor spawn, is that all 4 of this thing's 20mm cannons are MG151s. The Focke-Wulf 190s prior to this have 2 151s and 2 of the other type of 20mm. I can't remember what they're called. It's like FF something something or something like that. But having all 4 the same, it kind of helps with shot consistency a little bit because all of the cannons fire at the same velocity. They all have the same like scatter pattern, the same rate of fire, all that good stuff. So first engagement is this P47M. I was originally going to go for the Sterling, but because this guy looked like he was going to run away. But then he went into the cloud cover. I saw him turn around, so I turned to head on him, also in cloud cover. I don't think he realised what I was doing, so I kind of burst through and surprised him. He tried to go into a climb, break the clouds, and just break my line of sight and get away from me, but he misjudged my energy state, and I actually managed to maintain with him, and eventually I just pick him off. This thing actually turns a lot better than you'd expect. I think a lot of people underestimate the 190's turning characteristics, and it doesn't have combat flaps, it has takeoff flaps and landing flaps. And the takeoff flaps, you can use them up to surprisingly high speed, and they really do tighten your turning circle a lot. They massively reduce your stall speed, and if you use a keyboard and mouse, then you can flick into the landing flaps as well and increase it even more. You can dogfight with P51s, bad Spitfire pilots even, especially if you start off with an energy advantage. So as you can see, I've included the kill cam side, I'm going to call it, the enemy perspective of each kill from today's video. You'll see here that I shoot the elevators off this guy, and right after I get attacked from behind by a Spitfire. So this guy's dead, he's in a dive, he's got no means of pulling out of it. I'm just going to leave him pull off, there's no point following the kill, and I'm just going to make it harder for this Spitfire to get a kill on me. Nearly get him there. I think with a little bit more practice with these guns, I tend to flick between nations quite a lot, so I need a few warm-up games in each plane to really get the guns down. If I played nothing but this for a day or so, I'd probably have nailed that guy there. But he was in a climb, he was turning, I decided to break contact. Cloud cover's great for this when it works in your favour anyway. Usually clouds either fuck you over because someone sees your spec through them about 10 kilometers away and just kills you without even knowing they were there. Other times you can use your friendlies to spot targets for you, and you can be the one that dives out of the clouds and fucks people's days up. On this occasion I broke contact from the Spitfire whilst he was manoeuvring. He engages somebody else, so I come back around. I don't think he can see me right now. Even if he can, he's not paying attention. He just killed a friendly, but he's flying away from me, so I decided to dive on this wyvern here. Now you'll see one of the downsides of the Focke-Wulf 190-A8 here. It kind of wallows in the air. At really high speed, the rudder kind of just makes it slide. It rolls around, it waddles, it doesn't like to stick to the cursor. So you really have to work hard to get the... If you understand the mechanics, you can kind of account for it, but it takes a lot of work and understanding to do. I actually fuck up that approach completely, and I did not deserve this kill at all, but the Wyvern hits a tree, and even though I only got hits on him, he died, he killed himself, and it credits me with the kill, so I'm not going to turn my nose up at 3 points. Spitfire's still up. He is in pursuit of a friendly 190. He just killed him, which is unfortunate. I, however, have an altitude advantage on him. This thing with an altitude advantage is a bit of a beast, really. I mean, unless you really screw up, there aren't a lot of things that can effectively counter you. It's basically an A5 as well. The performance characteristics of this thing are basically the same as the 190 prior, except it gets an air spawn. It has a pretty crappy climb rate stock, but spaded it has the same climb rate as the A5 before it, which doesn't get an air spawn, and if you can do well in that thing, then you're going to do well in this thing. I misjudged the Spitfire's energy, however. This little inverted roll just saved me, I think. Otherwise he'd have probably knocked my wing off. He starts to stall out, so all my little jinking around kind of saved the day. Flick onto landing flaps just to maintain the altitude so I don't drop down into his guns. I'm just going to wait for him to stall out, or at least get in a position where I can turn around on him quick enough. Throttle off to turn quicker, I don't want to pull myself into him. Again, I could have potentially got him there if I was more used to the plane, more used to the guns. But as you can see, I'm turning with a Spitfire right now, just by using the flaps and throttle correctly. This guy would have really had me dead to rights. I should have killed him in one of the 3 prior instances of him crossing my guns, but as I said, I'm not used to the plane. Thankfully this friendly comes in. The friendly's first pass is what made me execute the dive on him. Decide to just go aggressive. I'm going to put the balls in the court of the friendly to help me out when I need it, and the Spitfire completely fucks up by ignoring me, and I just execute him from behind. So that's 3rd kill of the match. You can get some pretty insane long-range snipes with these 20mm as well. I've had kills out to more than 1 kilometer with them before. They have pretty favourable ballistics. They're pretty decently fast, and even one connection can blow a plane apart. So there's 2 enemies left now on the enemy team, and I'm playing on the Berlin map, and they're both miles away, so I'm just going to farm the IL-2s until I've run out of ammo. Then use the opportunity to go and land. I like farming the IL-2s. A lot of people get pissy with you farming AI. I think that so long as the enemy team are basically dead anyway, there's no harm in killing AI, farming AI. You get a shitload of points for killing these things because they're actually a mission objective, and they're really good for practicing lead if you're not used to the guns on a plane. Just be careful not to sit behind them, because the AI gunners can chew you to pieces in pretty short order if you just sit on their tail and don't kill them quick enough. Flick to the perspective of all the IL-2s. This was a bitch to record because, I mean, if you imagine trying to find the perspective of me killing a player-controlled vehicle, and obviously I can just go to the replay, click on the player's name, snap to their view, and then spin the camera around to look at myself killing them. The only hard bit is remembering the keybind for turning the HUD off. However, for IL-2s, they're AI controlled, they don't have names, so you literally have to scroll through every single one, look behind you all the time, and check that you are actually there coming at them from behind. You have to time it right, because you can't rewind replays for some fucking god-awful, pointless reason. So I had to time it right, and yeah, it's just a bit of a pain in the ass, really. But yeah, I would really recommend you try out the Focke-Wulf 190-A8. If you're a fan of the earlier models, then it's basically the same but gets an air spawn. It has very, very favourable matchmaking. Usually you're in 5.3 to 4.3, which I've said before, I think, at the start of the video. but you're pretty much on the cusp of being top tier almost every time. It flies great like the previous models. I would really advise you get into the mindset of playing boom and zoom, because if you adopt it over the turn fighting stuff, then the German tree is just a fucking joy to fly. I absolutely love the 190s, the 109s. I prefer the props to the higher tier stuff. But that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, then be sure to leave me a comment down below, like, subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Cheers.